Welcome to the Dag Code Podcast. This is DDS, where real fans come for real sports talk and no BS. We are your hosts, Blake Melton and Bradley Newberry. Matthew Parker has the day off today. How you doing, Brad?
It's a good day. It's a very, very good reaction day, but we all told you so.
Wow.
If you were watching.
Starting off with a Gator chomp.
If you were watching. We
coming out strong.
But that's where we will start. We're going to start with the Florida Gator versus Vols game. Gators win this one, 38-14. I will admit that while watching it with the Vol Nation over at my house, and the score goes to 14-10 Vols.
Yeah. Made him squirm a little bit, didn't it?
The household was staring at me to see if I would have a reaction, but you saw it. Ice cold water in my veins.
Stoic.
Ice cold. But yeah, that was something. I don't think anyone in our house expected to see 14-10 Vols, even if just for a few minutes. But that's what happens when you have busted coverages. Even Hendon Hooker can pick apart that type of defense.
Well, I think we saw a few things. I think Tennessee might have surprised some people with, the quality of their kind of first group of folks on defense, particularly on the defensive line. I think they kind of surprised Florida just a little bit. But ultimately, over the course of the game, I think what we saw was that they just had too many athletes for Tennessee to be able to persevere. I mean, I had Tennessee scoring 14 points. I didn't think that they would score more than that. I mean,
I thought 20, but
yeah, I mean, we weren't far apart. No. We weren't far apart by any means. So, all in all, I mean, it was what I expected. There was the frustrating thing is actually I think that there were some blown opportunities on several fronts by the Tennessee Volunteers that were not capitalized on, both on offense and even some coaching decisions.
Yeah, we'll get into a play or a coaching decision. Was it a coaching decision? I don't know. We'll get to a play in just a minute, but I agree with Blake. I mean, this ultimately over the course of an entire college football game, just the talent. Yeah. Or as you mentioned, the waves of talent that they can just keep rolling out onto the field. They don't have to play the same guys the whole game. It was just too much, man. The Gators offense ended up having 505 total yards with 283 rushing yards again, proving that they are a running team, 7.1 yards per carry. They converted 9 out of 14 third downs. I think Emory Jones actually looked pretty good in this game. His stat line says 21-27 for 209 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks, another 144 on the ground. I'm not so surprised by seeing 100 and something from him rushing, but that efficiency.
He managed the game.
Right. Yeah. That efficiency is what I believe the university is looking for. They're not looking for him to be Kyle Trask. They're not looking for him to be Danny Werfel. They just want him to be efficient, continue to be athletic, use your legs. But if you're converting 9 of 14, wow, that's better than I thought.
Well, and I think what we saw was kind of a little bit. It was a good game for him to have a maturity breakthrough, because the tendency against Tennessee in the past is, let's throw the ball. They're weak. They're supposed to be weak there. They stuck with their game plan. They took the little dinks and dunks. They didn't go for too many home run balls. But they broke off a lot of really good runs. Emory Jones did everything he was supposed to do to not hurt the team. And that's really, I think, what they want from him, like you were saying.
And I was surprised. We did not see Richardson, not one single play.
No.
And I thought that maybe they were just letting him stay out of the Bama game to have him more rested for something. A package, 2 packages, 3 series, but absolutely nothing. I was shocked.
Not a thing. Well, but the thing is, though, is if Emory Jones is playing like this, is really a reason to, I don't know where he is on his eligibility status for this year, but is there a reason to burn his eligibility if Emory Jones can manage a game like that?
I mean, if Emory's doing this,
I mean, he could play the whole year against anybody if he's putting up those kinds of numbers.
if he's doing this, I prefer it to look more like what we saw in the UT game because I don't like the 2 quarterback system.
No, I don't either. I don't either, but on the other side of the ball, I'm looking at Tennessee. They had 423 yards of total offense. I mean, 275 passing, 148 rushing, 10 penalties for 85 yards, which there was, there was at least one bonehead play.
I wrote it down. There were 3 penalties on one single play.
I mean, that alone, it was, what was it? It was 40 something. How many yards and penalties was it on that one?
Right.
Well, what did they do? They waived off one penalty because they declined it, right?
So what they did was on one singular play, I'm assuming it was a punt. It makes sense.
Yeah, it was a punt.
There was a kick catch interference, targeting, and then after the play, an unsportsmanlike on the balls. So what they did, I think they ended up taking they
had to take the after the play.
They did the 5 yards for kick catch or whatever, and then they added on 15 for targeting because those were during the play. So that's 20, and then they did another 15 for unsport. It was 35 yards.
That's what I thought.
Play.
35 yards.
Yeah,
that was not a very bright moment in the game. And honestly, it could have been something that kind of steered Tennessee towards the wrong direction in the game, if you ask me. The kick catch interference, I question whether it was. It was, but we'll talk about this in a minute. Heupel had already burned his challenge.
Yeah.
Couldn't have challenged, but honestly, it wouldn't have made a huge difference in that play. But if the targeting, for whatever reason, had been shown to be to where it wasn't targeting, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And then he wanted to challenge the kick catch interference. He could have, but he didn't have the opportunity to because he had already burned it. Yeah. Could have made a difference there. I think that Tennessee's defense, like I said, in the first group of folks looked like they got some 3 and outs. But that was kind of the story of the night. They were either going to get a 3 and out, or it was going to be a long drive because they didn't have the people to cycle in and cycle out.
Because it wasn't a fact that Florida was running some up-tempo offense like UT does. It was just a simple matter of fact. They've got no one to sub in and out.
Right.
Not depth anyway.
Right. I mean, look, Tennessee put some yards on the board. That's admirable and all. I'm not into moral victories by any means, but it's just further proof that, the personnel is just not quite there. We had so many folks leave Tennessee. I think this offense with Josh Heupel is an interesting one. A lot of rub routes, which rubbed this one the wrong way a lot during the game.
I'm sick and tired. This happens all the time, but I'm sick and tired of watching wide receiver X at the snap. Hut. He runs and immediately starts blocking a cornerback.
Yep.
Before the ball's even in the air, and then wide receiver Y does his little curl underneath the rub and runs deep. I'm like, that is pass interference.
Let me ask you this, and I don't know the answer to this. You probably do because you're a lot more smart about football than I am. If it's an RPO, what's the rule? Like if they start off rolling out like a run, what's the rule? I
mean, I would think that
like if he's outside of
the pocket, then run rule. I guess run
blocking
is acceptable.
But
those rules apply.
That particular play that we're thinking of, it was a quick pass.
Yes.
But I was just curious because I have a feeling that will be something that I'll see out of Tennessee in the future, and I was just wondering what that rule was.
Good for them to scheme it up. That's what we talk about.
And I was telling him during the game, I guarantee you that everybody in high level football is taught to just keep doing it until they until they call it.
Make them stop you.
Yeah, until they call it a penalty, don't stop. Yeah. So, look, there are some positives to take away from the Tennessee side, but ultimately, I think it was a game for everybody involved, including the coaches, to see where they need to grow in their particular discipline.
I'll say it was the same from Florida. I don't think these two teams are that different in mindset. Mm-hmm. they're proven to be different in talent set, but I think this was an opportunity for Florida to grow even more, even after battling with Bama the previous week. I mean, this was, like Parker mentioned, this is more along the lines of, hey, could this be the true test?
So yeah,
not a Super Bowl type game against
Bama.
So
there's been a lot of questions about this with a lot of the media. Is this Josh Heupel team? Is it different? Was this a different Tennessee Florida game, or was it just more of the same? Because there are some people that say that this one just felt different, even though the scoreboard didn't say it was, really all that close in the end. Is there something there that got Florida's attention a little bit about Tennessee and Josh Heupel? Or is this just the typical Tennessee fans saying, oh man, we're really excited about our coach?
Being the outsider to this question, I think that if Florida and the SEC doesn't acknowledge that it's different, I think they're wrong. I mean, because the UT evolves the program, even if it's just a coach this year, because he really hasn't had a chance to get, quote unquote, his players in there. Mm-hmm. Yes, he's been able to handpick some quarterbacks and bring them in, but any program that says it's not different, you're not paying attention.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it's starting right now. It's already started. It started week 0.
I mean,
I can see
he hasn't even had a full year to recruit.
No.
I mean, so this is my thing. I'm not trying to get too excited. I tend to try to stay a little bit neutral about this Tennessee stuff, even though I am a fan. But I look at it as the last probably 5 years. I mean, I'd have been dying to have over 300 yards of offense. Mm-hmm. I'm not worried about this team scoring points now. Now I'm more worried about, do we have enough defensive players to cycle in because they're going to get the ball back a bunch. I was telling Bradley, during the game, that I'm not scared if Tennessee's down 24 or 28-14 in the third quarter. I'm not really that scared if I have enough personnel, because this is the type of offense that can come back.
Yeah. Every time Florida scored anything, he was like, well, we got the offense, the ball back.
Exactly. I was just like, well, it just means we get the ball back, and it's that kind of offense that there's just been, the offense has really been non-existent for at least the last 3 or 4 years.
Well, before we move on to anything else, I got another question. One more question about this UT stuff.
Yep.
How is Mr. Hendon Hooker doing? Because you and I saw at the end of this game, we saw Milton come in, and I swear if any of you out there could watch us while we were watching this live with Milton, we were dying. We were laughing. It was just every throw was...
We were like, watch this. And it's like...
Even our wives were laughing. I mean, he's throwing at 110 miles per hour, either at someone's face. Usually it was just way over their heads. Again, way over their heads. But how is Hooker? That's it.
So I've got an article pulled up here from the Knoxville News Sentinel at knoxnews.com. It's titled "Josh Heupel Gives Injury Update on Tennessee Quarterback Hendon Hooker." It's by Adam Sparks of the Knoxville News Sentinel. So according to Coach Heupel, not sure if he'll be available or not is what he's saying. We'll have to see what transpires during the week. But he is saying that it is not a concussion protocol situation. Going on to read here. I'm kind of reading it as I go here, folks. Milton finished the game.
Yeah.
He said on Monday, Heupel said Milton was not at full strength for the Florida game, but he believes that he'll be close to that when UT plays Missouri on Saturday in Columbia.
Let's say based off a limited work.
Yeah.
So he wasn't practicing last week? Milton.
It says right here. Did I miss it? He just said after the Florida game, Heupel said he didn't want to play Milton just based off of limited amount of work he got during the week. Ooh. Which makes me wonder, was he going to play Milton if he got a couple more reps?
So as the game went, you remember I predicted on here that we were going to see both teams do the 2 quarterback thing. I feel like as the game went on, both sides, both coaches showed that they wanted this to be one-on-one. They wanted it to be Hooker versus Jones.
I think with these 2 coaches, though, they're offensive minded. They don't give a damn who's taking the snaps. They just want them to get the ball to where they want them to go.
Can Milton get the ball?
Look at this here. And now, later on in this article, it says, could Harrison Bailey play against Missouri?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Can Milton get the ball where it needs to go? And then this part of it says no.
Look at this. It says 2 quarterbacks have played in every Vols games this season. Mm-hmm. Man, I'm really kind of interested to see how to me, after watching this game, the majority of the game going to Hendon Hooker, I think he's the guy that's going to give Tennessee the best chance.
Yeah, Milton, it says, was only completing 47% of his passes.
Yeah. And I mean,
I'm shocked as
and
that.
Look, the 53% that he's not completing are bad misses. Bad. I mean, they are Scud missiles just flying out of the stadium. Here's an interesting stat. UT is ranked 4th best touchdown to interception ratio behind Ole Miss.
Well, yeah,
Auburn and Alabama.
He's throwing them where no one can catch them, except the big fat guy in the third row that we've talked about.
So it says, when asked if Bailey would be considered to play over Milton, Heupel said, "I'm not going to speak to situations that aren't real at this point." What does that mean? That doesn't sound positive.
Is he trying to coddle Milton here?
I don't know what that sounds to me like. Is he saying that Bailey's not my guy? Bailey, that's not a realistic proposition. Is what that's what I heard. Is that's not realistic.
You took it as if it's Hooker, Milton, and no other consideration from that answer. I took it maybe
from what I heard. From what I'm reading here, Bailey is the emergency option.
Okay,
that's what I mean. I could be completely wrong, but that's
right.
To say that you're not going to speak to a situation that isn't real at this point. That sounds like you're saying this isn't realistic for you.
Bailey, if you happen upon this video, take it upon yourself to step up and beat Milton.
Yeah, man.
Take that as a personal challenge, just one-on-one, just beat this guy. Make your coach believe in you to at least be the backup of the UT Vols team. I think it's a very obtainable goal.
Mm-hmm.
And look, you've played enough football. I saw you last year. You've played enough SEC football. You can do it. Yeah. Just step up and take on that challenge, man.
Hey, yeah, absolutely. You see the field probably better than anybody. You're a natural passer. Be a leader out there. Get it done, big guy.
Mm-hmm.
There we go.
Look, last week, Daddy had a feeling.
Oh, yeah.
Daddy had a feeling, and by God, it came true. The Arkansas Razorbacks victorious 20-10 over the Texas A&M overrated Western Aggies.
I am here today to proclaim in the famous words of Matthew Parker, his favorite word to describe teams. Texas A&M, you are fraudulent. I was high on Texas A&M coming into this season. So were you. So was Parker.
I've got them. I picked them to represent the West in the SEC title game. I don't know how that's going to come true, man.
I mean, and conversely, I was low. I was way down on Arkansas too. And I think we all were. I think we all had them winning like 3 or 4 games. Dude, Arkansas is the real deal. Daddy had a feeling. I wasn't sure if it was indigestion or what. But I'm looking at this, and Arkansas is they just grind it out, man. They have a good running game, good rushing attack, 197 rushing yards against a defense that's supposed to be pretty good. They have 443 yards of total offense. Bradley's showing me his stats. He had him written down 4-8 for Arkansas.
I had Arkansas going 4-8 and the 3rd worst team in the SEC. I had them worse than UT. I have Vandy at 2-10, South Carolina at 4-8, and Arkansas at 4-8.
And he had A&M at 11-1,
representing the West. Oof.
I mean,
how it can change on a dime.
Isn't it amazing? I mean, I'm looking at the A&M stats here. Calzada was 20 of 36, 151 with 1 interception. I mean, that Isaiah Spiller had 12 for 95 yards. He did his part.
That's what I mentioned. Calzada's got to use that guy. Don't try to overcomplicate things. Use Spiller.
Yeah. And I mean, I think what it is I think Arkansas's defense is actually pretty legit. Let's see.
Yeah, that Arkansas defense. I said coming into the game that Texas A&M's defense was nasty. Arkansas's defense proved to be the better team. Quarterback KJ Jefferson. What more can I say about this dude? We mentioned him along with his running back. We're going to be the key players, but my goodness, his wide receiver stepped up and they just connected on just bombs. And it was too much.
Traylon Burks.
Yeah.
6 receptions for 167 yards receiving.
And Texas A&M didn't have the offense to catch back up to that. I mean, even whenever they scored 20, that proved to be too much for Calzada and that offense.
Yeah. Man, I tell you guys, I don't know when y'all are going to start listening to Daddy, but we seem to have a pretty good track record going here with these kinds of picks.
So good segue.
Mm-hmm.
Because Arkansas, even though we didn't have it in the category of underdog picks, clearly they were. And
I would have chosen Arkansas as my underdog pick if it was not our game of the week.
So clearly they were the underdog. Mm-hmm. You had a feeling. Mm-hmm. But let me tell you people out there, this panel went 3-0 on our underdog picks here in college. If you include that one, that's 4-0 in our underdog picks. And we're not talking about using the point spread. That's just extra juice. We're talking about you put money on the money line because we're telling you, all three of us, we're telling you pick these teams that are going to win just straight up. Arkansas, SMU, BC, Boston College, which we're going to talk about in just a second. And then old Parker had UTSA, Texas San Antonio. Perfect 4-0 on those. But we'll stick in the SEC. What about this team that we don't even know if they belong? Boston College 41-34 over Missouri in overtime. Bazelak, a concern that we mentioned in our SEC East prediction show. 303 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 picks. Bad ratio again.
I mean, what else can you say? That's you can't throw that many picks against good teams. And despite what people think about Boston College, they're a good team. Hey, I said coming in, actually, I don't know if I got this out on but one of the things I wrote down, I don't think I ever actually said it, was their rushing attack is real. 275 yards rushing against Missouri. That doesn't happen against a real SEC team. Not whenever you're going out of conference. Never happens. 450 total yards. I mean, my goodness. They didn't hurt themselves with penalties. They controlled the time of possessions, limited their mistakes.
Do we have any confidence that Heupel and the UT Vols can replicate this? That's who they have this week. We have the Vols going to Missouri.
I think that they're catching Missouri at a good time. I think the Vols could. I mean, we're not getting in our predictions too much here, but I think that I think that there was enough positive stuff in the Florida game that I think Missouri's in trouble.
It could carry over.
I think they're in trouble.
It could definitely carry over, but a great call out with Boston College taking that win over the questionable SEC Missouri Tigers.
Yeah. I mean, before we go, I want to give a shout out to Pat Garwo III, 25 carries for 175 yards in that game and 2 touches.
Good Lord.
Absolutely legit. Great job, Boston College. Great job.
It sounds scrumptious for the UT Vols backfield. Sticking in the SEC, we have LSU holding on for dear life, 28-25 over Mississippi State, a team coming off of a loss to Memphis that Blake told you so. And
by the way, our picks go back to last week. You can check those too. We got a pretty good track record, guys.
I mean, Mississippi State was in a spot where they were playing at home. They had what I like to call the red booty factor coming off of that loss. So they should have been pumped up to, let's make a wrong right.
Yeah.
Nah, not to be. I don't think either one of these teams are that good.
I thought so in my preseason picks with LSU. I didn't think that they were going to be that great this year. The problem is that, I mean, I think that there's some teams that they've played so far that just really weren't that good either. Looking at this, I mean, honestly, this was a fairly evenly matched game. I mean, obviously with the air raid offense that they're running there in Mississippi State, they're going to score some points. Very similar to Heupel's offense. They're going to throw the ball. They're going to run the ball. They're going to score points and move the ball up and down the field, but they just can't stop anybody else from scoring, is what it comes down to.
I don't have any respect for really either one of these teams. I think someone had to win and someone had to lose, and that's what happened.
Yeah, and I mean they lost the turnover battle here. You know, they had one fumble and one interception.
That speaks volumes on a lot of them. Sticking in the SEC, we got a ho-hum. Someone had to win, someone had to lose game. Kentucky, 16-10 over South Carolina. I didn't watch a second of this game, but just watching the scores update, or in this case, not update, this made me think about when they played Chattanooga. It's just like, let's just go through the motions. Who cares? We're going to win eventually. And I think that the panel, us three, were starting to lose some of that love for Kentucky.
You know, I'm looking at this. I'm like you. I didn't watch any of this game, but I'm looking at this box score. This looks like a struggle fest.
Yeah.
Total struggle fest. I mean, Carolina, 216 total yards from scrimmage.
Parker said they're horrible.
I mean, Kentucky, though, I mean, they only had 330 against a really bad Carolina team.
My favorite player in Kentucky is Rodriguez, their running back.
Well, I mean, they had some rushing yards. That's ultimately where I think they won the game. They had 230 rushing yards, you know, and like you said, Rodriguez, you know, he had 144 rushing yards.
He's my favorite player.
Yeah, I mean, he is what's going to win and lose games for them, is what it comes down to. I mean, because the quarterback he had one interception and 100 yards.
He's lost the luster, dude. After week 0 or whatever, we're like, whoa, they've got a quarterback and a running back, but the quarterback's proven that he cannot be trusted going forward. But Kentucky, congratulations on another win. I don't know whether to say congratulations to this team or not, because I did watch a lot of this game. I'm talking about Auburn versus Georgia State. Yes, Georgia State. It ended up being 34-24 after a pick 6, but I swear to God, Georgia State was winning the majority of this game.
This was a hard game to watch. I mean,
it was fun for me. It was great watching the entire Auburn stadium. The fans were just sitting on their hands.
It was the quietest I've ever heard that stadium.
They were looking around like, what
is that? Is it Jordan Hare? Is it Jordan Hare Stadium? Yeah, God, it is. Sure. Honestly, this game, I know it ended up being a 10-point victory for Auburn. It was way closer than that.
Oh, my God. And that fourth down play.
That fourth down play was ridiculous.
When they were losing, they had to have it or they were going to lose the game.
I mean, it was a desperation play for sure. But, I mean, dude, TJ Finley, as far as I'm concerned, Bo Nix shouldn't play.
I was going to say, do we ever see Bo Nix again?
He should never play anymore.
Why would we ever
I've never been a Bo Nix guy.
No, you haven't.
And this guy, Finley, he looks like he might actually give him a chance to win. But, I mean, Georgia State, I mean, they had 150.
They were running the rock on that SEC team.
Tucker Gregg, 12 rushes for 150 yards. Oh, that's 12.5 average, folks, in case y'all need help with that math. 267 yards rushing. I mean, this was you look at the stats and they're basically even once you kind of weight them one way or the other for passing but dude,
Auburn is fraudulent.
I think all of us really kind of expected them to have a down year this year.
I had Auburn at
least I did. I think I did
6-6, right?
Yeah,
now.
kind of a year. But Georgia State. Hey, wow. I'm a Tennessee fan. I know about Georgia State.
That's off to you.
So,
if you want to briefly comment about a 62-0 didn't even show up at your home stadium. Georgia Bulldogs come in, take over Nashville as we predicted. Nothing but red. Even the Vanderbilt, the parents were putting on red by the end of this game.
It was embarrassing. If I'm a Vanderbilt fan, or an administrator, I'm embarrassed.
But they're not going anywhere.
Parker, I know they're not going to do anything about it. Guys,
Jeez.
35-0 after the first quarter. The first quarter, not the first half, the first quarter. That's where Kirby Smart's like, I mean, shit, I don't know what to do.
He can't even pump the brakes.
No, it's like I'm not supposed to. I don't have a game plan where I play my backups for 3 quarters
because the backups are going to run it up too.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, look.
Wait, hold on. Before you get too much into it, because I just glimpsed over at it, and I was telling you this. I was like, Blake, I know you haven't seen the box score yet or watched this game in full, but Georgia almost had as many points as Vandy had yards.
So for Georgia, 532 yards, 291 passing, 241 rushing yards for 62 points. Vanderbilt, 0 points, 77 total yards, 24 yards passing, 53 rushing. I don't even know what to say. And they had 3 turnovers. 2 interceptions, one fumble. What do you even say to that?
Look, they're supposed to have...
I have some things I could say, but I mean...
They were supposed to have seals that was like, okay, we got our quarterback coming back with his wide receivers, but that's proven to be a dud.
Nothing. Dude, this Vanderbilt team is an embarrassment to the SEC. It really, I mean, anchor down, whatever, founding member of my ass, I don't care. That's just horrible. There should not ever be that big of a gap between SEC teams, in my opinion. I mean, I understand Georgia's really good.
No, yeah, we all do.
But when you combine a really good team with a really pathetically awful team, I guess this is what happens.
I got nothing else. But I want to go around the league real quick to wrap this up.
Yeah.
Clemson. How do you lose to NC State? Clemson? I was telling Blake during the weekend while we were watching football, I'm like, look, was this Clemson all along and Trevor Lawrence was covering it up?
This is a huge conversation we had.
I'm almost convinced that Trevor Lawrence was covering this up, and this offense that we see was the offense all along, and this poor quarterback is just not that good.
I mean, you look at the box score here, the stats, it's not even close. It's not. And it's not necessarily that NC State put up some massive numbers or anything. I think their defense is okay. I wouldn't say they're bad. They're probably, you could probably say they're good.
Look, they showed up in that Georgia game week 0.
Yeah, we know that there's some stuff there. But I mean, you look at it, time of possession wise, NC State had it for almost 42 minutes. Clemson had the ball for 18 minutes. Clemson, I think you're fraudulent.
That's pretty bad.
DJ Uwangalele, I think that's how you say it. DJ. 12, 26, 111 yards. 1 interception, 2 touches. No, I mean, rushing is non-existent. I think ETN, I think Trevor Lawrence, I think they bailed them out of so much just with God-given talent. And, you know, it led to another conversation that will continue in our NFL reaction show. Is this something that's stunting the growth of players that come through that program as a result? Because this system that they have in place is broken, and they just happen to have brought in some really good players over the last 5 to 8 years that really kind of covered up a lot of stuff. You need to tune in to the NFL reaction show because we'll probably go into more depth with that.
And stay with us too. Once we get Parker back in, we'll bounce some thoughts around him too. But speaking of Parker, hey, Iowa State that you like so much, they got thumped by Baylor. And Iowa that you don't like, they improved to 4-0. So I know you're going to tell us that you still don't like them, that Iowa is this and that, but all they do is win, man. It can be ugly, but they're still winning. Another team that improved to 4-0 was Michigan State. Oregon improves to 4-0. They're kind of running high still off of beating Ohio State at Ohio State. Oklahoma survives is the way I put it, 16-13 over West Virginia. That's another team that I'm not buying.
They continue to be not impressive. I mean, they're just not. So I'm not impressed with Oklahoma one bit this year. Of course, most of that conference, I'm not really.
No. What's left of that conference.
Yeah, exactly.
And one team that Parker kind of called out last week, North Carolina, he said could be sneaky to get back up in there. They're dead. They just lost their second game. They got routed by Georgia Tech 45-22. So goodbye, Seth Howell, and all that comes with the Tar Heels.
Yeah, I got nothing to say there other than I think that was just false advertising. I think that's all that was. A lot of window dressing.
Yo, everyone out there, react with us. Give us some comments. Let us know what you're thinking. Let us know if we're way off base. But that's the way we saw it last weekend.
It is. It was a weird weekend for college football for sure. It was. I was telling Bradley before the Tennessee game, I was like, man, there's something in the air. I think it gave him a little bit of a chill, but
ice water, baby. Ice water in these Gator veins.
Absolutely. Hey, guys, thanks for joining us again. Be sure to check us out on Twitter at DDS Sports Talk. Go ahead and leave us a message there. Like and subscribe our YouTube channel. Go ahead and leave us a comment. Tell us what your reaction is to the weekend past. Any other parting thoughts, big guy?
Nah, I'm good. It was a good college weekend.
Absolutely. All right, guys, you tune in with us for our NFL reaction show and also Thursday, our prediction show. Outside of that, guys, you be well.